Hello there graders, welcome to our writing workshop. Today in this lesson we're going to talk about how to become the captain of our writing. So for this lesson I'm going to ask you to bring 3 things, and it is your writing journal, a pencil, and an eraser. You may pause this video if you need some time to grab those 3 items, but please make sure to keep them on your table because we're going to be coming back to the journal a lot and we're going to be doing a lot of drawings. So if you're ready with all 3 items, let's go ahead and start drawing a boat. But before we start drawing a boat, I want you to write down today's date, which is Thursday, September 3rd. Would you please write this date on the top of your page? And I'm going to now invite you to draw a boat. Make sure to draw the boat nice and big because we're going to be adding a lot of details on this boat. So feel free to design your own boat. This is how I want my boat to be. And here is my captain. So don't forget to add captain on your boat because we need a captain in order to drive a boat, right? And feel free to pause your video if you need more time to finish your drawing. But if you think you're done, then let's move on. So in this lesson, I want to teach you that when writers are in charge of their own writing, they think back over everything they know how to do and they make a work plan for their writing. Writers sometimes use charts in their own writing to remind them of stuff they know how to do. So what does that mean? So I today asked you to draw a boat. But this boat is actually symbolizing your drawing, where this captain is yourself. So who is the captain on this boat? It's you. And what is the boat again? That's your writing. So who is the captain of your writing? It's you. And it's very important to understand that it's you who is responsible for your writing. And today in this lesson, I'm going to give you some tips on how to make your writing better. So do you remember this week we had a chance to look at one of the famous authors' book, which is Come on Rain, and we even talked about some of the skills that she used in her writing. And it was first putting in exact word people say. Second one was writing how people talk, using descriptive details, telling it bit by bit. But I wonder how many of you are actually keeping those skills in mind, and how many of you are actually practicing it. Are you really using those skills in your writing? So I had a chance to look at your Seesaw work, the activity, the writing that you did on Seesaw, and that there were some students who tried to use those skills in their writing. So they were putting details in it, they were using dialogues. However, there were some friends who are still writing in whatever way they want to write. So in this writing, I'm going to go over all 4 skills. So let me start by what it means to tell the story bit by bit. So here I have included Jack and the Beanstalk. And then there are multiple ways to tell the story. And let's look at the example on the left. There is a boy named Jack. He planted a bean and climbed up the beanstalk and met a giant. How do you think about this writing? Do you think it's telling you a lot of details? I don't think so. So this is more like a summary. It's not telling a story bit by bit. This is like a big chunk of story. And it's missing a lot of details. Whereas when we look at the example on the left, it says, once upon a time there lived a poor widow and her son Jack. One day Jack's mother told him to sell their only cow. Jack went to the market, and on the way he met a man who wanted to buy his cow. Jack asked, "What will you give me in return for my cow?" The man answered, "I will give you 5 magic beans." Do you notice how this example has more details and how it's written bit by bit? So that's what I mean by telling it bit by bit. So take take your time to include more details instead of just skim through, instead of just writing everything brief. Put some details and tell the story little by little. And if you think you can do that, I'm going to invite you to draw a steer on your boat, because that's one of the tools you need in your journey. So here I'm going to draw my steer. And I'm going to label it, because this is a tool. And this tool is okay. So now I have one tool on my boat, and it's going to help me to be a better writer. So now let's move on and talk about the second skill, and it is writing how people talk. So I noticed that a lot of you like to use said and told. I'm not telling you to stop using those. However, I'm inviting you to think of other ways to describe how people talk. And I have included some examples here: murmured, whispered, exclaimed, yelled, announced, and answered. So why don't you use those words when you're describing how people talk? Because it gives us more clear understanding, and it tells us how the character actually behaved. And if you think you can do that, then I'm going to invite you to draw a binocular on your boat. The binocular is one of the important tools. Okay, let me change my pen. Is one of the important tools because it helps us to see far distance. And it's very important when we're driving on a boat, because when we're on the water, we can't really see things far away from us. And after drawing the tool, I'm going to label it. And I'm going to writing how people talk. And let's move on to the next skill, and it is using descriptive words. See? Using descriptive words. So what does that mean? I want you to have a look at this boy in the middle. What is it doing? How would you describe him? So one person might say, there is a boy sitting on a chair. But this description is not enough. We don't know how he looks, what he does. The only thing we know is that it's a boy and he is sitting on a chair. Whereas when we look at the second example on the right, it says, there is a boy with glasses sitting on a chair. He's excitedly thinking of what to write on his story. Do you see how the second example has more descriptions? We know that he's wearing glasses and he's thinking what to write. So because it has more descriptive words, I have a better picture in my mind on what he does. So I want you to do the same for your writing. So when you're describing a character, instead of just telling them, oh, there is a boy, he's a third grader. Instead of that, why don't you put more details to it and describe how it looks and what he does? So instead of saying, oh, I went to a camping site, like how, when, with who, what was the weather like? Do you see how you could be more descriptive in your writing? And if you think you can do that, I want you to draw a compass on your boat. So compass is also another important tool because it tells us the direction. And it's very important when we're driving on a boat because when we're on the water, everything is water. We don't know where is the north, where is the south, and where is the east. So the compass is very handy and it helps us to find where to navigate. And I'm going to label it, and I'm going to say, using descriptive words. Alrighty, so let's move on to the last skill, and it is putting in exact words people say. So here is an example which I would not want you to do, and it says, I asked my mom if I can bake some cookies for my friend, but she said no. Okay, but how else can we write? Mom, I want to bake some cookies for my friend Ellie today. I asked my mom. Honey, why don't we find another moment for that? Mom answered. Do you see how I use the quotations here? So it means I have included dialogues. So that's what I mean by putting in exact words people say. So don't just summarize the scene, but instead be more direct and use the dialogues. And use your characters to tell the story. And if you think you can do those, because that was another thing that I noticed by looking at her seesaw activity. There were not much friends who were including dialogues on your writing. So can you check your journal and see if you have included any dialogues? Because dialogues are very powerful tools. So if you think you can do that, I would like to invite you to draw this life tube on your boat. Because we never know what's going to happen on our adventure. So it might be a very good idea to keep one of those life tube to stay safe. And I'm going to say, and I'm going to label it, putting in exact word people say. So now we have so many powerful tools on our boat. Initially, there was only my boat and myself. But now because I have those tools, I can navigate and I can drive and I can find my way on my journey. So just like I have given you those 4 tools on your boat, I want you to remember that those 4 tools are very important in our writing as well. Writing how people talk, telling it bit by bit, using descriptive words, and putting in exact words people say. So I hope you remember those 4 skills, and next time we write, I want you to keep those in mind and try to practice those when you're writing a story. So for today's seesaw activity, I want you to take a picture of your complete boat and include it on the slide there. So I hope you have fun, and I'll see you later. Bye now.